Hey guys, rpvarela back with the Fall Guys tier list. So Season 4 has been announced. Season 3 is about to end, so we won't see any new levels or any new variants until the new season hits. So I feel like it's a good opportunity to reevaluate and check the tier list again. There have been a bunch of new levels. I think we should and there are some new variants that made me change my mind about certain things. I feel like it's a good idea to review these and see what I think about. So the first thing I changed, there are a few things I gotta warn you guys about. So I added a need tier. I feel like it's needed. I'm gonna go into more detail. And I decided to detail each category here. So excellent, very good, good, okay, a little bad, bad, and awful. So what are those? Excellent is a game that's pretty much perfect, or very close to perfect anyway. Deserves a spot up here. A very good game is incredibly good, but just shy of being here. Like there are maybe a few problems here and there. It's just outclassed by those. Still a great pick, still a great game, deserves a spot. Good game, it's a good game. Solid, there are great things about it. It's not like anything special, but it's good. An okay game is just that, okay. Nothing excellent, nothing terrible, just okay. Perfectly serviceable. And a little bad are the games that have a few problems that kind of start to show up and you're like, yeah, this could be a little better. Bad, so why did I make the bad category? Bad is for games that at least I'm not playing F tier games. That's the whole reason. It's bad, but at least it's not that bad. That's the whole point of this category. The last thing I did, final change, I rearranged the levels here in categories. So we have the starter races, the middle to final round races, the survival games. I'm including Perfect Match as a survival game. It isn't. It actually is a logic game, but it plays like survival, exactly like any survival game. So it goes in. All the team games, which I now realize I should rearrange it. Let's put them in player amount. Yeah, okay, in player amount here. Okay, let me just there. 4 players, 4 teams, 3 teams, 2 teams. The hunt games, those 2, and the finals. So this helps me kind of gauge what I'm doing. So I'm gonna be having an easier time if I do this. So let's start with the big races. So Big Fence is my favorite course of all the starter races, easily. I just enjoy it a whole lot. It's like very fun to jump and dive. I love games that make me jump and dive, so I'm always going to be a fan of those. And Big Fence has a lot of that. You jump and jump and dive over the little platforms. You jump over the beams. You time it right. You can cheat your way, kind of barely making it to a platform by jumping really early. Incredibly fun. The new variants add a few interesting things. It makes the game actually easier, which I feel like contributes in the game's favor a lot, because it's a game that would routinely time out, still times out a lot when you don't have the variants, which means players probably have a lot of difficulty with this one. But with the variants, we get the fans variant, which allows players to just fly over platforms and even fly to the end of the last session. We have the removal of the beams, which make it a lot easier to cross. You don't have to time your jumps quite as well. And we have the addition of extra platforms, which also makes it a lot easier and more lenient if you make mistakes, and harder to make mistakes. So I feel like it made it a beginner course, a bit more beginner friendly. It's a great idea. So for all those reasons, I think Big Fence is gonna get a spot in the A tier. It's not quite S, because there are games that are just much more fun overall. But as far as if I was just judging the starter races, it was gonna be an S tier for sure. But an A tier is very good. It's not that it has flaws, but it's just outclassed, like I said before. Dizzy Heights. Dizzy Heights is good. I'm gonna put it right here. It has it involves you running on the discs, spinning around, following the paths. There are strategies you can employ. You can follow the optimal path. You can recover well if you fall down. There are ways to speed it up. There's a big eaters that can show up, make it very fun. The base course, I would put it way closer to okay, but with the variants we get, like the no discs variant and all the obstacles that you can be hit by, the big eaters is a big help in making this one fun. It's one of the best big eaters in the game. The whirly variant, there are a bunch of fun additions that make this a very good course. Although not very good, I guess good, like I said. Yeah, it's one of the more fun games. If I was judging season one alone, this would go to A tier because there wouldn't be many contestants. Gate Crash. Gate Crash is you know the drill. You run into the gates as they are going down or up. You time it right. It's all about timing. You gotta go to the door as fast as you can, and then there's the final slope with the slime, and you jump over and you clear it. It's the one thing I like the most about Gate Crash is that it's very fast. It goes by very fast. You don't have to wait a whole lot. It ends soon. And furthermore, the variants, I will say they didn't do much to alter the course. Like what we got is dissynced gates. They synchronize differently, and a few donut pushers here and there. Overall, largely unchanged from the first season. Maybe could use a few variants to spice things up here and there, but I'm overall very happy with it. I will place it in B tier as well as good, above Dizzy Heights. Above Dizzy Heights. It's more fun than Dizzy Heights to me, on account of being so fast, on account of just going by fast and being very easy to learn and master. Hit Parade. I always said Hit Parade is less fun than Dizzy Heights, and I still stand by that. But there are a few things here that, well, let me just go about my rules here. So, first thing I can think about it is the trick right at the beginning. If you fall into the slime slope that goes down and you flip your character and then flip it back and you get a huge boost, incredibly fun to do. Manage to squeeze by the final gate as it's closing, the very first gate you get. Very fun to do. Manage to go to the sides and cross it. Also very fun. But I'll say most of the variants make this course more annoying than entertaining. The whirly variant is incredibly annoying to deal with. It's more challenging for sure, but it's also very annoying. What else is there? The other variants don't do all that much. Like the pendulums, when they are vertical, it's not even an obstacle anymore. It's just easy. The hammers are, well, pretty much easier. I will say that the faster hammer and donuts make this a lot more interesting, but I still prefer Dizzy Heights overall. But it's very close. They're pretty much on the same level. Now, Night Fever. Night Fever is, in my opinion, one of the best courses introduced in Season 2. Not that there were a lot of them, but... And this one has benefited greatly from variants, I feel like. Both variants that make it easier, and variants that make it harder overall. So we have the seesaw that can make it harder overall. We have the fans that make it easier, in my opinion, if you know what you're doing at least. We have the windmills instead of the thick bonkers, makes it a lot easier for new players. I feel like it's fair to have it. There are the slime slope becomes a lot easier or harder depending on the obstacle. The X's are pretty much the default, but we can get donuts, which makes it a lot harder. We can get those flippers, which is just a lot easier. Boxing gloves don't do a whole lot. The desynced bridges, the X bridges, they all change the course in so many different fun ways. And it's still an incredibly fun course to traverse, I think. And there's a big eaters here and there that can make you speed up ahead. All these variants make it go up to A tier, but not as fun as Big Fans, no. Now Tundra Run. Tundra Run is a course that I enjoyed it when it came out in Season 3. But I kinda got tired of it because I was playing it so very often in the season, to the point where I was getting like burned out on it because it's well, you tend to play starter courses more than any other courses, right? Hmm. Drinking some water here. And when you have a new starter course that's gonna show up a lot, and you have no variance because it's a new course, it kind of gets old. Fortunately, in the mid-season, they release a few variants that make things fun here and there. The thick bonkers makes it traversing more easy, in my opinion, in the first session instead of the boxing gloves. More boxing gloves can make it chaotic, but also easier depending on your strategy. And the final stretch with the fan, the bonkers, it all changes it a great deal in the way that makes it fun and more strategic. You can't just mindlessly jump into it and hope you get it. You have to think about it when you're crossing the line there. I will definitely say Thunder Run is better than these, but not better than these two. So it deserves a spot up here. If it was still the season 3 without the mid-season up, I would probably make it high B instead of a low A. So take it as you will. Seesaw, I've said it multiple times, it is my least favorite starter race. Highly position dependent. If you're starting on the back, you're gonna have to struggle a lot more. If you're starting right in the front, it can be a complete cakewalk and completely irrelevant. It's very repetitive. It's just seesaws over and over and over. There isn't much variety. There are no variants that matter really. The variants are just minor layout tweaks. It barely changes anything. I can't put it in the same tier as these, so I'm just gonna say it's okay. It's not bad. It's okay. I'm never happy to see it when I could see any of those up here. Now for the Whirligig. Whirligig is the original S tier starter course before all those cool levels came up, and even more fun levels came up later. So the Whirligig is getting moved down a bit. The variants don't do a whole lot. I mean, there are good variants here. Let me just go. It's good. It's a good course to learn how to optimize certain things. You can get the initial whirlies to propel you forward. You can run, jump, and dash in the first treadmill to clear the jump without having to rely on the blocks or grabbing. You can learn to dodge the bonkuses, the hammers. You can learn how to squeeze between the blades. You can take the middle path. And one variant that I think is just genius is the double beam variant at the last whirly, the mid path, because it makes it harder for veterans because there are two beams now. But if you're going through the sides, it's easier because there are more platforms and they are closer to each other, so you have more room to make mistakes. So it satisfies noobs and casuals and veterans, I would say. Noobs and veterans, yeah, that's the word I was thinking, sorry. Satisfies both of them, so this variant makes it really good. I would place it here just above Thunder Run. I still prefer Whirligig over it. Very fun course. Now Doordash. Doordash is largely about luck. It's about if you're ahead, making a mistake soon, or either getting it right or making a mistake soon and correcting it quickly. Like if you get a wrong door and someone immediately gets a right one, you go to the right door. You follow them. You're either in the lead or following them very closely to win this one. The variants, this would be pretty okay, but the variants make it so much more fun. Big Eatus, just fun. It's the only variant that really matters. The donut blocks kind of add an element of thought you gotta put into it, but more often than not it's gonna bump you around. I mean, bumps another player and the player bumps into you. You know how it happens with the desync. The fan didn't do much at all. The fan is completely irrelevant unless Big Eatus is also present, so it might mess you up. But overall, the Big Eatus is by far the most fun variant this one has. It really saves you if you get unlucky at the final doors. But as it is, it's not quite as fun as any of the other courses. So it's gonna have to be low B tier. It's good, but almost okay. I would prefer any of those here instead. Ski Fall. Skiffle is, in my opinion, the most disappointing game in Season 3, the least fun game, because it's such a good idea, it's so unique. It's a race, but you win by scoring points by going through the rings, but you win by not playing the game. If you play the game, you're playing it wrong. If you go middle path, you go to the rings, you are deliberately sabotaging yourself. You gotta go around to the sides, you gotta jump in the middle. The variants didn't do much to prevent this strategy. The Big Eaters does pretty much nothing. You will more often than not hit the wall or just get hit when you try to go to the side paths, but you can avoid it very easily if you know what's coming, if you know what you're doing. The donut pushers do not do much to prevent you from going to the side paths. You can just walk on the colored lines. Try again. On the colored lines and avoid all the nonsense. There's a variant that removes the pendulums at the end, which makes it even easier to get the middle ring. There are flippers that go to the middle rings, making it even more prevalent of a strategy. So it's just, why bother with the two big rings here and there? Why? Just go around it, just ignore the whole course and win. It's incredibly frustrating and not frustrating, but just boring. Just, you know you're gonna win. If you're like a veteran, you know you're gonna win. So it's just a waste of time, honestly. It's gonna go here. It's still not as bad as Seesaw, but pretty boring. At least it goes by fast. And that's the other thing. If you're a veteran, you're gonna clear the 3 rings real quick and you have to sit there and wait. Kinda annoying. It's just okay. I wouldn't say it's a little bad, it's just okay. Now Slime Climb. Slime Climb combines two of the more fun aspects of Fall Guys. It's a race, which is usually the more fun courses overall, but it's also a survival game. Meaning if you fall off, you don't get a respawn, you get out of the game. And probably more than any other course, Slime Climb has benefited the most from all the variants. It's so much varied. You have log cannons, you have flippers instead of pushers, you have multiple different ending obstacles, bonkas, pendulums, hammers, donuts, a fan, a Big Eat as if you're feeling daring enough. So much variety was added to Slime Climb, and the fact that not everyone will qualify, and you can have like a completely unpredictable number of players. You can have a Slime Climb that eliminates 5 players, you can have one that eliminates 30 players. It's so wild and unpredictable, you'll never know what game you're gonna get next. For all, this is, I mean, in my opinion, is the spice of Fall Guys. Games that don't give you an exact number when you get eliminated. This is the most fun thing in Fall Guys. You never know what to expect. So for this reason, Slime Climb is our first S tier. Easily my favorite race game of all of them, easily. Now Freezy Peak. Freezy Peak is a course that shows up either super early at 40-ish people or as low as 10. It's incredibly varied as well, which is something I enjoy. And it's very much skill based, more so than pretty much any of the other races. There is very little RNG involved in this one. Unpredictability. There are maybe I mean your spawning position for sure, but and the snowball, the angle of the first snowballs, and the second one's in the fence. But overall, it's very unpredictable. Oh, very predictable. Sorry. You know what you're doing. You know how to optimize it. You can clear it. It's incredibly fun. I will say waiting for the boxing gloves is a little tedious, and not doing so, it's a bit too risky for my... I know I can... This is like a non-complaint I have, because I can't really complain. If you don't want to wait, you just go and jump over the flippers. But it's way too risky. I prefer not to. And the main reason I like this one is because it prevents other courses from showing up. Freezy Peak, like when it usually shows up, which is like 30 to 15 players, I want to say, means you won't get Fruit Shoot, you won't get Tiptoe, you won't get Tail Tag. It saves you from more boring. You won't get a team game, so it saves you from the more boring stuff overall. And for that reason, for this reason specifically, and the fact that it's so skill-based, more so than pretty much all other races of the final-ish ending. I would say it deserves a spot in S tier. Incredibly fun course, saves us from a lot of trouble, always fun to play. Very punishing if you get it wrong, but incredibly fun. Fruit Shoot. Now, Fruit Shoot is a course that I used to hate, really hate, because it feels incredibly hopeless. Like if you get hit once, it feels so hopeless. You watch everyone run, and there is nothing you can do. You will just sit there, walking slowly up the treadmill. Everyone in front of you is gonna make it. You know you're not gonna make it. There isn't much you can do. You can hope for a stray fruit to knock them out, but most of the time you're just doomed. But that was before the Yeetus variant that became pretty much the main version. I would say that 95% of the time you have big Yeetus on both sides. The variants are pretty fun. They are kind of rare. The other variant, the Canon variants, are pretty fun, pretty rare, but they add a bunch of fun. You can get the single fruit, which is like all watermelon, all bananas. Bananas is incredibly chaotic. All berries, footballs. It's very fun, I would say, but they are pretty rare. Overall, you just get the usual fruit mix. But with Big Eaters, if you learn how to use consistently, as I recently have, it becomes so much more fun. You just fly ahead over most. It feels awesome. Using Big Eaters always feels awesome if it's a good one. That's another thing to be said about Seesaw, by the way. Even the Big Eaters is boring in this. That's why it's so low. So for that reason, Fruit Shoot is going to be upgraded to good, but low good. The Big Eaters really save this course from D to B. It's that good. I would play Fruit Shoot with Big Eaters over these two, if you can believe me. I would play it gladly. Now, Tiptoe. Tiptoe is, well, probably the most luck-based race in the game. There is heavy RNG. You don't know what the tile path is gonna be. Of course, let me just drink some water here. You don't know what the path is gonna be. The Big Eaters in this one adds very little to the game. Very little to the game. It usually sends you. I mean, most of the time when I see Big Eaters, it's either gonna send you into a hole because there's no ground there, or very close to a hole, or incredibly hard to get to the right place. And even if you get to the ground, it usually doesn't matter because you still have to figure out the rest of the path, and you're gonna be alone in doing that. And by the time you slowly figure it out, people are just gonna catch up to you, and it's not gonna matter. Or even worse, the Big Eaters is gonna be pretty much inaccessible because there's gonna be real floor above it, and you can't get to it. The Thick Bonkers variant adds a bit more of chaos and gives you a second chance, or a third chance, or a fifth chance, 10th chance, because people tend to fall off a lot. It makes it incredibly chaotic. It feels better than default Tiptoe with the Thick Bonkers, but it's still not enough to save this game from being a little bad. It's really a little bad. It's not a fun experience by any means. Now, Wall Guys. Wall Guys, like I said at one point, is easily my favorite game of Season 2. Incredibly fun game, but it suffers from two things. So let's just, before we get into that, let's talk about what I like about it. The parkour is excellent. There are so many strategies you can employ. You can rush ahead and fly all over and get to the optimal path and cross it. Sometimes there is not going to be an optimal path. You're going to have to pull some blocks. You've got to get ahead before everyone else can. Set up a path, get it, clear it. Sabotaging is a valid strategy. Pull the block back, they fall off, giving you some chance to catch up. The new variants were incredible. The final fan never really mess me up, but it can be very dangerous. You just gotta time it better. The ramp blocks help. Make it easier to traverse the sections, which can be good and bad. If you're behind, a lot of newer players will cross it along with you, and it's gonna be hard for you to cross it on skill alone, because the skill ceiling is gonna be lower, so more people are gonna compete with you. The fan variants, I would say, makes it a little too easy, but also incredibly fun to use when you get it. It's such a relief to just go over the wall. They've cleared it, good. Uh, but yeah, this is a very fun, but it suffers from two main problems in my opinion. The RNG, you never know where the blocks are going to spawn. I get it, it's necessary because else it would just be a single optimal path every time and it would be incredibly boring, but sometimes you get some really nasty paths that force you to go to the ground level and rearrange the blocks, which is not my preferred strategy. And the other main gripe I have with it is the grab bug, the wall grabbing bug, which is so annoying. When you're grabbing a block, you're facing forward on the camera is right behind you, and your fall guy is not gonna climb, just not gonna climb. And it's incredibly frustrating in Wall Guys, more so than in any other game for obvious reasons. Still, incredibly fun game. I would put it in A tier, top of A tier, even above Big Fans. It's my favorite game of Season 2, even with those problems that keep it from S tier. Still an incredible experience, and the variants only added to it. Block Party. Let me get some water here. For our first survival game, we have Block Party. Block Party is a course where you just stay there for a good while, dodging walls that are relatively easy. The main challenge comes from the amount of players involved and whether or not they like to grab. At first you just dodge walls and then you have to jump, and then the walls get crammed and you get the final pattern. There are 2 points I make about this one for and one against it. The point against it is that it's too samey every single time. Yeah, there are like 3 variants, I think. It's like the one with the C-shaped blocks, the one that makes you go left and right all the way, the ones that you... There are a few, not many variants. The one with narrow gaps, but it doesn't vary all that much. It gets a bit stale. It's a bit of a stale course at this point. It really needs some sort of variety, some variant, some spice, something to mix it up a bit. But what I'll say in favor of it is that, like Slime Climb, it doesn't give you an exact player count of how many people are going to get eliminated. That said, it doesn't tend to eliminate a whole lot of people. It's kind of like, who knows? And with that, I would say it's good, but I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier, almost a C. Jump Club. Jump Club is a less interesting version of Jump Showdown, though the variants did a lot for it, I think. So what do we have? We have a circular platform with a single beam on the bottom and 2 beams on the top. You can do the whole push the bar to stay on track for a while at the beginning while people get eliminated. I'll be drinking a lot of water just so you guys know. While everyone gets eliminated. In the variants, added a bit of a variety to it. The fruit cannons usually don't do all that much, but they can catch you off guard, especially if you're jumping. If you get hit by a fruit, it could be the end for you. There is room for some strategy. You can just follow the beam, you can just time your jumps, you can position yourself well, you can grab. There are variants with double beams, triple beams. It's pretty good. I would say it's a good survival game. The only thing that's keeping it from... I'm gonna put it on the other end of the spectrum of B tier. I'm gonna place it top of B tier. More fun than these, for sure. The only thing that's keeping it from A is the fact that it eliminates a fixed amount of players. It's the only thing that, or else I would put it higher. But it's still a solid course. I would say pretty good. Almost very good. Perfect Match, like I said, I'm gonna place it as a survival game. Now, Perfect Match, I would usually put it in OK tier. It's the perfectly okay game. There's nothing wrong with it, there's nothing bad about it, there's nothing good about it. It's perfectly fine. And it would sit here, no problem at all. Like, you can do a few things maybe, like you can grab someone and throw them off, you can fake them out by going to a fake tile and jump to the right one. There are a few things you can do. That said, the variants did quite a bit for this one. The fruit variant is kind of boring. It almost doesn't matter. Pretty much doesn't matter. But the spinny bean, like people like to call it perfect deathmatch, is incredibly fun. Even when I lose, and I lose it very often. I lose very often with the spinning variant. But when you do win, man, it feels so good because there are so little people left. It's such carnage. You just get like 6 people remaining, 5 people remaining. It's so amazing. For that reason, I'm gonna upgrade it to B, but you're just gonna be low B, not quite enough to be, because the variants are quite rare, and the course itself is nothing amazing. It's just good, just pretty good. Rollout. Now, Rollout is, I would say, it's one of the more grab-happy survival games by far. Probably the most grab-happy survival game. If you like grabbing people and throwing them off, and I have done my share of that. I don't like doing it very often on rollouts, but I would do it in other courses. I would say it's solid. It's pretty solid. You have a few variants that make things more interesting. Even the rings itself change. You have bigger gaps, smaller gaps. You have donut pushers. You have walls. You can have the blue rings missing completely. You can have fruit cannons, which, okay, again, don't do very much unless you're jumping. I would say Rollout is a B course. I would place it right around here. I feel like it's a good place for it. Why not higher? Limited amount of players eliminated. If it was unlimited and you gave you a set timer, it could be very interesting. So yeah, Rollout, I feel like it's in a good place. Now, Snowball Survival. This is the newest course in the game right now. It was introduced in Season 3.5. Consists of that giant soup bowl with 2 snowballs rolling around and bumping people all everywhere. They fall into the cracks of the ice floors that you destroy. They get eliminated. Whoever survives, survived. Now this is chaos. I've been getting better at it. I'm learning a few strategies that I didn't try before. I'm improving at it, surviving more often. It's such a good one. This is probably the best survival course right now. To the point where I want to put it just in A tier. Very good. It's so chaotic, eliminates a random number of people, you never know who's gonna get eliminated. I once got in a game with just one other guy and we went to the finals, just 2 people in the finals. He won, but it was such a great moment. And I can't help but to think, if he was eliminated in Snowball Survival, I would have gotten a crown before the finals, which would be just insane. It's such a good course. I have no complaints about this. It's just fantastic. The snowballs can collide with each other. It adds a lot of chaos to it. You can destroy all the tiles. You can grab people. You can just circle around. You can stay in a safe place. There are many strategies. Incredible course. Not as fun as all the races. Yeah, not as fun as all the races. Maybe a little more fun than Thunder Run, I want to say. Yeah, I feel like that's fair. I'm that saturated of Thunder Run. Okay. Let's look at the team games, starting with the only 14 game in the game right now. The only game to feature green team. Team Tail Tag. As far as tail games go, it's not the worst, it's not the best. And it's a tail game still, and it's a team game. It weighs heavily against it. But that said, it feels a lot less stressful to play. And that's the main point here, I think. You have a pretty safe course, which is this, compared to the stress that is tail tag and the just... This is the difference. Like, this is a more chill version. Tail tag and Royal Fumble are intense, but one is stressful, the other is thrilling, I would say. There's a difference. This one, you can kind of strategize. You can like, oh, this team is winning, I'm gonna get a tail from them more easily. This team is losing, I should avoid their members so they don't steal my tail. Most of them will not have a tail. So you can start thinking about it. Or I can find the one guy that still has a tail and take it to further cement this team's elimination. or I can just stay in the game and fight. And there are a few strategies. The variants can be, I would say the variants are kind of frustrating here and there, like the thick bonkers is very annoying to deal with, because it kind of limits your space way too much, not in a very fun way, I don't think. So I would say that makes it just a little bad. I feel like that's a fair assessment. Snowy Scrap, the first of our 3-team games here in this list. I feel like this is a game that gathers a lot of hate because of all the saboteurs. And I feel like it's a game that probably more so than any other requires a lot of team coordination. If you have a team that knows how to coordinate, you're gonna have a good time, even with saboteurs, depending on how many, of course. Because people think sabotaging is like the end, the doom of your team. You're not gonna survive it, but if you are organized, you can, in some instances, survive it. If your team knows what it's doing, because that's, if you're fighting the sabotage and winning, that's a person not pushing the team's ball. Like that yellow bean is sabotaging blue team, but he's not pushing the yellow ball. He's making it harder for everyone else in his team. The variants are kinda interesting here and there. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. The spaced out boxing gloves are interesting. Kinda adds a little layer of possibilities there where you can fit your ball somewhere else. The vertical boxing gloves can be devastating if you get the enemy teams there. You can cut them off with your own ball and steal their snow tiles. You can use the boxing gloves to roll a lot of snow real quick. The worst variant is by far the spinning disc in the middle. It's very hard to get the ball out, incredibly frustrating and easy to sabotage. To keep the ball there, you just struggle a lot. It's not very fun. And for that, I would put it in OK tier. Actually, above Seesaw. I would prefer to play this over Seesaw and Skiffle, because those two are so boring. This one at least has excitement involved. I would place them above. Even when I lose, I would say, yeah, this is more exciting at least. Hoarders. Hoarders was my original worst game. Like, no contest. I've come around to it. Does that mean Hoarders is good? No, not by a long shot. But I feel like ever since they tweaked the physics, I think it was the patch that prevented dive grabbing on tails. I feel like the balls are a little more consistent when they do what you expect them to do most of the time. The variants are more annoying than anything else. The donuts, the hammers, they really mess you up in most of the times. They kind of disrupt all your strategies and not in a very fun way. But I don't feel like it's awful anymore. I feel like it's bad. It's still bad. It's like it never quite feels like you're in control. You're either like losing and you don't know what to do, losing or you can't do anything, or winning and you feel like you didn't do all that much. Maybe you have one good play, one nice defense, one great ball steal, but overall it feels like you're not in control. It really feels like you're not in control in this game, and that's pretty bad. Now, Egg Scramble. Definitely the better egg game. This one I feel like it doesn't depend on population, on variants, it depends on population. A high population egg scramble is very annoying to play, a lower population one is better. Like, I would say 4 to 8 people each team. 8 is a bit too much. 4 to 6 people on each team is the ideal number for egg scramble. So I would say there is some degree of strategy you can employ. You can throw the eggs back to your teams. If your team is coordinated, this part is very fun. You throw the eggs, they throw the eggs into the basket. You defend. It can be very fun. If your team is working well together, this can be a very well-oiled machine that gets all the eggs and defends the eggs in a very good way. I would say it's better than Hoarders. I'm willing to say it's a little bad if you have low population. I'm gonna grant it a spot in the little bad tier for a good team and low population involved. If it's high population, it goes back down to E tier. So I'm gonna be generous and give it a D tier instead. Now, Egg Siege, that's a much different story. It's pretty much the same game, but the layout is very different. And by different, I mean terrible, really. The drawbridges stay up for very long. There is a variant that makes them go down faster, which is a lot more fun, just a lot more fun. It's like night and day. Makes it a lot easier to steal the eggs and throw them over the bridge as it's opening, as it's closing. The other variants, like the X's, annoy me a lot here and there. Like, it's not. No. Still F tier. If you get the fast drawbridges variant, I could see it going to E tier, but still, I almost never get it. I would say F tier for sure. It's one of the worst games out there, no contest. The map layout is really bad. It's too large, it's too long, too cumbersome to traverse. Just overall bad, really awful. Hoopsie Daisy. I would say Hoopsie Daisy, even when I lose, it's one of the better team games. It's like one of the more competitive and fair team games, because you can't quite bully a team and just be done with that. I would say the things that can make this game worse is like a very high spawn of golden rings. Of course, it's very fun when you get a lot of them and you win. I've made crazy comebacks, like getting 15 points because I got 3 rings in a lucky game. I've had games taken from me from this, but I don't like all the chaos it adds to the game. The new variant is incredibly fun, but I see it so rarely that I don't quite know how to play it yet, but it's a lot of fun. I would say Hoopsie Daisy is okay and slightly above Snowy Scrap. It's not quite good, but it's okay. Penguin Pursuit. This one is it's a mix of Egg Scramble and Tail Tag done right, in my opinion. Takes both of those games, merge them, and make them incredibly fun. You have 3 penguins. You gotta keep a hold of them, and you gotta keep your team holding that penguin to score points. The longer you score, the more points you get. And there are so many strategies you can employ. You can run around the upper edges. You can make sudden turns. You can go around places. You can juke people. You can jump around and make yourself incredibly hard to grab, but also very easy to knock over. There is a golden penguin variant, pretty rare but incredibly fun. I've won a game by taking it once and just skyrocketing in points and just overtaking the other team. You can bully a team, prevent them from getting penguins. You can protect your own teammate like a bodyguard. It's incredibly varied, incredibly fun. So many strategies you can employ. I would say it's a good game. I would place it here, above Block Party. I would say Fruit Shoot with the Aetas is better. If Fruit Shoot didn't have the Aetas, this one would go up a tier, of course. So yeah, I'm gonna review this, by the way, before we finish this up. Rock and Roll, one of the good team games as well, along with Hoopsie Daisy. This one is quite interesting because I feel like it's the one that got most harmed by variants. The variants did not help this game at all. Especially in the last session, the ones where all the lanes merge and the teams can interact with each other. This is the worst part. The hammers, the donuts, it makes it so unnecessarily bad. I really dislike the final stretch with the variants. But without the variants, it's just fine. If you have a well-coordinated team like in Snowy Scrap, you can get far ahead. It's incredibly good. I would place it in good tier, but because of the variants that were added, I'm just gonna say it's okay. It was knocked down a bit. It had potential to be here, but as it is, the variants really mess it up, and it falls into the problem that if you're in blue team, you're gonna get bullied by both sides. It's quite a disadvantageous position to be in. Kind of hurts you a little bit. And yeah, I feel like it's an okay game. It's a good game. I mean, almost getting into good, but still in okay tier. Better than all of those, but in okay tier. Fall Ball. Fall Ball, I don't know. It's kind of like the opposite of Horrors. I feel like after the physics changes, it became less predictable, and the balls don't quite do what I want them to do most of the time. But that's me being bad. And I'm fully willing to admit that. I lose a lot of fall ball nowadays. I feel like I've gotten a lot worse, or maybe everyone else got better. But that said, the fall ball has a few variants that are pretty hit and miss. They can get incredibly annoying. They can get, yeah, I will say they are annoying. The variants kind of hurt fall ball because they disrupt your plays so much. Like you want to score a goal ball, there's a pendulum knocking the ball out of the goal. There is a boxing glove now. There's a flipper in, it's just messing things up. The 4-ball variant is very chaotic. The spinny plate can be fun, but ultimately it's not all that much. I would place it in okay tier. I would prefer Hoopsie Daisy over Fall Ball, but not Snow Scrap. I would place it here. I feel like it's fair. It's an okay game. Actually, this deserves to be higher up. No, this is correct. Never mind. No, these are really boring. Yeah, I would prefer to play these over these. Jinxed is a chaos game, completely chaotic. I feel like the variants didn't do all that much. The fans that make you fly around and the boxing gloves, they don't do all that much. They can trap players if they are in the trenches, the boxing gloves. If they go up, you get trapped in a corner. It's kind of unpredictable because it relies on the movements of everyone else in your team. You can win a game by chilling at a platform for the longest time. You can spend the whole game grabbing everyone you can find and still lose. It's a little bad. I would say it's a little bad. No. Egg Scramble is definitely worse than this. Yeah, I would play these games over Egg Scramble for sure. Now, Hoopsie Legends. Hoopsie Legends is Hoopsie Daisy, but way better. One of my favorite games of season 2 as well. I am now realizing I said this about all the 3 games: Wall Guys, Night Fever, and this now. Meaning the only game I don't like is Egg Siege, so they are all my favorites, I guess, in a way. Doesn't really make sense. I would say it's better, even the Night Fever can be better than Night Fever, depending on the player count. I would say the variants can be chaotic, the access can really disrupt you if you mistime it, and the no ramps variant is really scary, especially if it shows up when you have like 10 players. I would say it's incredibly fun. I would say the main problem is the excess amount of golden rings when you have low population. It takes away a lot of the skill factor because it's just, well, oh, I'm here and the ring showed up and I win. If you have a high population, it doesn't really matter because it mitigates a bit of the luck. But with a very low population, you're getting golden ring after golden ring and you're getting the white rings you can get, and some lucky player on the other side of the map happened to be near a ring spawn position and got it, and you were now not qualifying because of that. It's a little frustrating, but that said, it's still an incredibly fun game that I feel like deserves a spot in the A tier. But where in the A tier? I would say as along Snowballs. These are interchangeable, by the way. They are the same tier. I would say it's fair. I would say Whirligig is less fun than these two, actually. I'm just gonna move it right now. These are more fun than Whirligig, for sure. On account of being shorter and more fun. Tail Tag is the worst game. I don't have to explain myself. It's incredibly stressful, incredibly frustrating when you lose. Even when you win, you feel awful. It never feels like you deserve the win. You just steal a tail on some player that was unlucky, either to fall over or maybe he made a bad decision and went to the wrong path. It never feels rewarding. You're like, yeah, I got this guy. Unless it's someone that has been bullying you or annoying you throughout the match, and you get a bit of schadenfreude from taking them out. Schadenfreude, I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, you know the word, the German word for satisfaction in someone else's pain. Incredibly fun to get revenge, but that's pretty much about it. Not enough to save. It is the worst game. The variants didn't do much. Big Eaters doesn't rescue it. The fans don't rescue it. It's just bad. It's just the worst game. No contest. And now let's have a look at the finals. Fall Mountain is easily everyone's least favorite final. Highly position dependent. highly luck based because you don't know when, when the ball's gonna hit you in the face out of nowhere. You can't see it coming if you're near the top. But they did do improvements to it. They have improved upon it. That's why I'm willing to be a little more generous about fall mounting. Why did they do? Well, what did they do to it? They removed the hammers right next to the crown that were causing troubles and grabbed bugs. So they just removed it. You just grab the crown but don't win. No longer happens that often because of the removal of the hammers. And the most important change, they downed it from 15 players to 10 players, which makes it a lot more fair, easily a lot more fair than it was, but also less frequent, less likely to show up. Also good. But that said, whenever you get to a final-ish number, like 10 players, 9 players, and you see fall mounting, you're never that happy. You're kind of like, I wish it was something else. But they did make a genuine effort to improve this one. I'm gonna put it in the good tier. Why good? It's still very exciting to win a fall mounting. It's like to get to the crown and you jump it and you grab it. It feels awesome. The act of grabbing the crown feels awesome, but it's better than Perfect Match, Block Party, Penguin Pursuit, Fruit Shoot. Man, hang on. Before we keep going, I'm gonna switch these two because Fruit Shoot is actually more fun than Doordash now. And more fun than Hit Parade, actually. I'm gonna put it right here. With the big Eatus, it deserves the spot because it shows up so often. You know, I'm gonna place it here, just above Fruit Shoot. Now, I feel like it's a fair assessment. Hexagon, it's the opposite. It's everyone's favorite final. There are no variants, but it doesn't need variants. It's such a well-designed game. There are so many strategies you can employ. You can jump very slowly, you can run around and destroy the layer, you can do crazy long jumps that save you from the slime. You can destroy the bottom layer for everyone else to fall. You can grab players strategically and jump away before they fall. You fall along with them. So many strategies you can employ. It is easily the best game in Fall Guys. It doesn't need variants, it doesn't need an explanation, it doesn't need an introduction. It's just good. Jump Showdown. Jump Showdown is also excellent. It's fun, more fun Jump Club, even more fun Jump Club. The platforms falling add a lot of randomness in a good way. Not randomness, unpredictability. You never know where you're gonna end up. You have to make some tough decisions to jump, when to jump and where to jump to avoid the falling platforms. It speeds up to a crazy level that makes it very fun. You can grab players, you can time your jumps correctly, you can go along with the beams. The fan variant is, I'm still on the side, it's still fresh in my mind because it's not that it's that much more recent than Snowball Survival. It came in the same patch. But the fact that I get it so rarely makes it hard to make a judgment on it. So I'm not gonna consider the fan variant for this judgment here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's A tier, not quite S tier, and not because it has flaws, but because it's outclassed by these games. These games are more fun. Roll Off. Roll Off was my favorite game of Season 3 when it came out. It's basically rollout, but intense as hell. It's you have the two rollers, you have crazy patterns, huge gaps that make it so scary. The slime rises, the speed increases a lot. Nowadays, the speed doesn't increase a whole lot, unfortunately, because I really enjoy this aspect. But I get it that it made people disoriented, but it kind of detracted from my fun personally, and that's my tier list. So yeah, it kind of detracts from the fun, but the slime rising a whole lot more is still very scary. I would say it's just below Jump Shot. I would have it in S tier, bottom S tier, but because the speed was tweaked down, I'd say it's not as fun. The grabs here are more prevalent now because it's easier to grab with lower speed, and it's not a fun course to grab. I mean, I don't like being grabbed, of course. No one likes being grabbed. But I don't like grabbing in this. I really enjoy the whole running around and switching lanes quickly and going back and forth, and grabbing kind of prevents you from doing that because you have to kill the grabber instead of focusing on the fun part of the game. But yeah, or get grabbed and get eliminated. Royal Fumble. Royal Fumble is like, it's fine. It's the best tail game. It's like I said, it's like intense like tail tag, but it's not stressful. It's thrilling. It's exciting. There's only one tail. You either know who has it or you have it. You gotta chase them down. There are so many jukes you can do, and it's not like you don't have to worry about who has a tail, who doesn't have a tail. You know everyone is your enemy if you have the tail, so it's much more reassuring. You know where to go. You can do fun jukes. You can jump around. There are no variants. It doesn't need variants. It's good. I would say it's the only tail game I respect. I would place in top of B tier. I really like Royal Fumble. Not enough to be very good, but I really like it as a final. The only thing I can say prevents it from being very good is because if you have like 6 players, it becomes kind of a grab fest. Even with 4, it becomes kind of a crazy grab fest. And it's not suited really for 2 players. It's incredibly frustrating if it's just 2 players. I hope I never see one, but I've seen it online. It's just, why? It's so impossible to catch the other player alone. And finally, we have Thin Ice. It's a game that grew on me a lot. I used to dislike it a lot because I didn't quite got used to the ice physics at the beginning, but now I'm much better at it. I like grabbing people at the edge and throwing them off. It adds a layer of fun. And the fact that there are 3 layers of ice makes it so unpredictable. You never know how the players are going to shape up the map. It gives you a different layout at the very end every single time. It makes it unpredictable and exciting. And for that reason, I feel like it's a very good course. Not quite as good as some of these levels, but I would say it's here. It deserves to be here. So there you go. Take a screenshot if you want to look at the whole tier list. Let's do a quick review. I feel like... Let me see if I would change anything here. S tier is fine. Maybe Freezy Peak could go down one, but it's so... saves us from so much chaos that's so good. This here, I feel like it's just fine. This is completely fine, yeah. I honestly believe Fruit Shoot got that much better with the addition of Big Eaters. It's such a... went from D to B. That's amazing. And mid-tier B. It's not like bottom-tier B. Yeah, I feel like this is completely fine. Yeah, I would rather play Snowy Scrap over Fall Ball, for sure. Yeah, I'm satisfied with this tier list. That's my final answer. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm rpvarela. If you guys like my content, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time with more Fall Guys. Well, not a tier list, but more Fall Guys gameplay in the future. Stay tuned. I'll see you then.